Good evening, councillors. I'm speaking on behalf of Guildford Greenbelt Group tonight. When the Z petition was initiated, it was with the expectation that by now we would have a revised SHMAR reflecting the downwardly revised ONS population forecasts for Guildford. However, we don't. The SHMAR remains in draft with little indication that any final or reduced objectively assessed annual housing need forecast is to be published soon. So we're stuck with an unrestrained annual housing target that by any other reasoned analysis can be regarded as excessive. The housing target shibboleth appears to have its roots in the socially bloody-minded phrase, roll back the green belt. But this is perhaps unintentionally divisive, so maybe it's there to hide something else. As has been commented elsewhere, it's all about the money. The corporate plan seems a good place to start, smuggled out last October after approval by the full council and review by the Corporate Improvement Scrutiny Committee, subject to no public consultation. If you read the accompanying release document, you'll find paragraph 9.2 states there will be financial implications to deliver the elements outlined in the action plan. There will be financial implications, and we'll come to those in a minute. In the glossy corporate plan booklet, there is a hierarchy diagram that shows how the corporate plan subsumes the local and financial plans under the economic and housing strategies. Most of us have read corporate plans, and this one is as anodyne as any. Written to obscure, not to reveal, written to be all things to all men, and give maximum room for manoeuvre, without prior commitment. More important is the medium-term financial strategy to which the corporate plan refers, but you won't find one on the council website. But with a bit of poking around, you can find a document called the 2013-14 General Fund Budget Book. Now, this is a more interesting read. If you fast forward to page 252, you'll find it contains the General Fund Capital Programme Estimated Expenditure 2013-14 to 2017-18, where item 18, property acquisition, sticks out like the proverbial sore thumb at £10 million, or 97% of the council's economic development expenditure, with a projected total across the whole scheme of £15 million. This looks like funding for the Borough Council's foray into commercial property investment. This is over two-thirds of this year's approved schemes and is driving the major part of the funding requirement of £16.8 million. How does this feed into the Council's future financing requirements? Were you aware that the budget book contains a forecast of an increasing financing deficit that rises to £2.8 million by 2016-17, and that's after a whacking great 42% increase in the council tax requirement as an assumption? Councillors, did you know you were voting for a future 42% hike in the council tax requirement when you approved this corporate plan? How will your electors feel when faced with it? How has this financial hole arisen? The budget forecast up to 2016-17 shows the impact of the withdrawal of the formula grant of £5.7 million, resulting in an increasing reliance on the business rate retention scheme along with the new homes bonus. Now we can see where a strategy that drives a need for new commercial property development and excessive house building rises. Is the council preparing a local plan with an excessive house building programme via the local plan in order to plug a large hole in its future financing requirements? The new homes bonus is a piece of government bribing of local authorities to get them to build more houses in return for which they receive bonus payments for 6 years for each annual tranche of new build. In its report March 2013, the National Audit Office characterised the new homes bonus scheme as part of the government's economic growth agenda and as one of several major changes to local authority funding. The NAO then went on to say, somewhat ironically, new housing is often unpopular with residents who may be concerned about pressure on local services, loss of amenity, traffic congestion and disruption during building. The government is to incentivise local authorities to encourage new homes locally by contributing to visible benefits for local communities and countering resistance to growth in housing. Well, that seems to encapsulate why we are where we are, with an executive committee trying to tell us to lie back and think of England while it covers us with excessive housing. What did Margaret Thatcher once say? No, no, no. Luckily, the new homes bonus calculator spreadsheet model is available to anyone, and it's been loaded with the latest available data for each local authority, including Guildford. Plug in your estimated number of new houses in each property category to get the forecast bonus. At around 350 new homes per year, the bonus for Guildford pops out at between 2 million to 2.8 million, enough to balance the books and remove the hole in the financing forecast for 2016-17. But the commercial property investment by the council this year has injected much more risk into its financial stability and removed the prudence we've enjoyed up to now. And the community is going to be made to pay for that over the next 15 years by suffering excess house building so this council can balance the books. So, as we said at the beginning, it's all about money. 30 seconds.
Sustainability, of course, is defined by the NPPF as meeting the needs at present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs.
If we have any questions, yes, I'll ask the councillors. Now your opportunity to ask questions at the
which includes supporting the transition to a low-carbon future,
are there any questions?
Protecting green belts and encourage the efficient use of land by reusing brownfield.
No, that's okay, sir.
Thank you.
I'd like to return to your seat. Thank you very much.
I noted that, as Councillor Jackson noted, that smart growth does not mean physical buildings. He spoke very eloquently about hot desking and smart growth, and then seemed to suggest that that meant that more land would be required for building on a kind of 1950s model, which I didn't actually think necessarily followed. I'd like to thank Councillor Wicks very much for her comments and her understanding of the concerns raised by residents. It's very refreshing to have councillors who are actually listening. I'd say that Councillor Palmer doesn't seem to understand the principle behind the petition, which is that economic growth does not relate only to building. No one is challenging the principle of economic growth. We're challenging the fact that actually it doesn't have to come from putting bricks and mortar on fields. We'd also welcome Councillor Wright's recognition of the importance of questioning the evidence base. I'm very glad that things aren't set in concrete yet. But it does seem as though most of the evidence base is not being revised when errors are drawn to the Council's attention. It's, of course, 16 years sort of in the future for the local plan, not 20. I think the councillor who thought it was 20 referred to dinosaurs. I'd like to suggest that dinosaurs failed to adapt when meeting circumstances they didn't expect, and perhaps you'd like to make sure you're not. Of course, the Allies and Morrison group thought that the Walnut Tree Close could be achieved within 5 years, so I'd like to hope that that could be achieved. Surrey is subject to huge development pressures. We're in the metropolitan greenbelt, we're an easy commute from London, and we're setting beautiful countryside that developers want to exploit before they build on it. We don't need money here to encourage jobs or development. We don't need more than, say, Birmingham and Solihull or Cumbria.
Thank you, Mrs. Ball. We will now move to the vote. Could those councillors who are in favour of the motion please raise their hands? Thank you very much. Those against? Any abstentions? Could you put your hands up, please? The vote is carried. Now move on to item 7.